Joining me now to discuss more on the connection between the Biden family and China and the security risk that it may pose to our country if Biden were to win the election, national security and foreign affairs expert and the author of a new amazing, eye-opening book entitled The Choice, Trump versus Obama Biden in U.S. Foreign Policy. Welcome to the program, Walid Phares. Walid, welcome back. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming back on the show. Okay, so since you were last on, a whole lot more has happened. We've got more evidence that proves connections not only to China, which I think is the most damaging, but also Ukraine and even Russia, thanks to good old Hunter's laptop. Now you got a business partner coming forward, a Navy veteran, I'd say a hero, and a patriot for coming forward. You've got people that were on those chains emails, some of the executives confirming the emails are legit, the store owner saying it's legit. How much more evidence do we need?
I think now it's up to the Justice Department and the various congressional committees to start working. I don't know if they're going to do so before the elections, but at least the public now is aware that Mr. Hunter Biden is involved, at least allegedly, in businesses with 3 countries, but that started during his father's time in the White House, and that's where the problem is. It's
right.
The influence these forces have.
Yeah, you hear a lot of the mainstream media right now, of course, blowing this off, calling it Russian propaganda. They're taking their talking points from Joey from the block. That's what he said last night during the debate. So they don't even want to cover it. It's Russian propaganda. But the ones that will kind of cover it, they're like, well, but what's the big deal? If he's being investigated for money laundering by the FBI since last year, that's Hunter. That's not his dad. But as you just said, I'd like you to repeat and kind of emphasize that more for the American people watching who go, okay, so Hunter's a scumbag, he was a crackhead, and he did illegal deals. That doesn't mean his dad did. No, the point is the vice president, while in office, used his office to leverage getting his son in there and then took a cut, according to the emails, somewhere between 10 and 50% to the big guy. That's where it's illegal.
Yes, that would be illegal, and obviously that would be a scandal. Nothing compared to it. And these are 3 countries that the Obama-Biden administration engaged with. I mean, these are countries. 2 members of the, permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, superpowers, Russia and China, and of course, Ukraine. And you remember all the attempts by the opposition to criticize Donald Trump, President Trump, for 4 years, paralyze his foreign policy, allegedly because he was working with Russia, allegedly because he tried to, quote unquote, work with Ukraine. Right. And now everything has been uncovered in the other direction.
Isn't that interesting? I'm sure a lot of folks watching out there, Walid, maybe your folks taught you this too, that when people are projecting something on you, they're typically the ones guilty of it. So we now know, like you just said, there was probably 3.5 million that came from that Russian Moscow mayor's wife over to Hunter. There was obviously millions and millions exchanged with the Ukraine gas company Burisma, which they tried to say President Trump did a quid pro quo on that phone call, which we all saw the transcripts. There was no quid pro quo. JoJo did it. And now you have China, which to me, and I think you have alluded to, and it's obviously talking about in your book, and we'll touch that here in a second. China is the biggest threat to this country, and having a president, potential President Biden, who took money from them through his son's business deals, would compromise the nation. How would you go negotiate hard with President Xi, if you're in his back pocket because you were taking millions from gas companies that are state-owned and run? It's insane to me.
It is insane. Let me add one thing. If Mr. Hunter Biden allegedly has done these deals or was part of these deals while his father was not in the White House, it's still an issue. It will still continue to be an issue because China or these countries will have an influence through these deals. Now, the fact that he was doing this while his father was a vice president, that's a deal breaker for any national security consideration. With regard the Biden family.
Let's talk a little bit about the peace deal. We talked about it. I think you probably heard it in your earpiece there right before. The president getting Bibi on the phone in Israel today and doing another peace accord with countries in the Middle East like Sudan and Israel. And now he's saying there's maybe 4 or 5 more coming on board. This president is working for peace in the Middle East. And I know that's one of your expertise. And Iran, obviously, is how I think he's bringing them together, because most of them agree Iran is one of the biggest threats, if not the biggest. You're the expert, so fill us in on that.
Well, first of all, it is a big deal because Sudan was on U.S. terrorist lists. We have victims from Sudanese previous regimes. Sudan also has engaged in a genocide against the African communities of Sudan, and that's a big deal that now we are going to force them to change their policy on human rights. But the most important thing is that this wouldn't have been possible had the Trump administration not engaged in what was then the Arab coalition. If you recall, when President Trump went to Riyadh in June of 2017, and he asked 50 Arab and Muslim leaders to drive the extremists out of their countries and to drive themselves towards peace, that was the beginning, that was the genesis. It was a policy that was carefully, developed by the Trump administration, and finally we see the fruits today.
Yeah, and let's talk about the Iran deal that he pulled us out of. Thank God that the Obama administration put us in, and not to mention the billions we gave him and the millions we gave him in cash on a pallet in the middle of the night. I'm sure that when the Obama administration did that, that had to, pardon me, piss off a lot of folks in the Middle East. And so I would think that if people are really taking their blinders off, they hate Trump, like Trump, dislike, don't care, in the middle, whatever. You look at what he's done in the Middle East in 3.5 years compared to the damage done by 8 years of an Obama-Biden administration, you got to vote for the man, just on that simple fact.
On that simple but very complicated matter of national security, yes, I would endorse that idea. I would add one thing. The Obama-Biden administration for 8 years has done a lot of damage to our relationship with our allies in the region, should it be Israel, the Saudis, the UAE, even Egypt and others, with all the deals, not just with Iran, but with the Muslim Brotherhood. Now Trump reversed this, and as a result of this reversal, he's getting one country after the other signing peace deals, but more important, coordinating among themselves. This is not the old peace deal with Egypt and Jordan. This is a very warm new treaty between the UAE and Israel. Israel is not even requesting visas for the UAE, and likewise. This is a completely different era.
Yeah, this is historic. This is a massive, big, huge, whatever adjective you want to use, huge deal. I mean, and Obama-Biden couldn't get it done. Walid, thank you so much for joining us. The book again, real quick, 10, 20 seconds. Describe what folks will get out of reading this book, The Choice, Trump versus Obama-Biden.
If they read it now, it could help them make a choice, but actually it would explain to them that 8 years of Obama-Biden were a catastrophe in our foreign policy, and 4 years of Trump were trying to reverse that. So another 4 years should be to Trump, because if they want to move forward towards peace and security.
And guess what? Peace in the Middle East means a safer America. Walid Phares, thank you so much, man. Your expertise is always appreciated on the show. You have a wonderful weekend and stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Coming up right here on Real America, he's fighting to kick out one of the worst do-nothing Democrats in Congress. Joe Collins joins us next to discuss his bid against Maxine Waters. Don't go away.